You're listening to the Devil Dog Talk Show.
This show contains explicit material and is recommended for ages 18 and older for mature audiences only. But hey, it's the internet.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
What up, man?
Oh, not much. Just getting some levels on so we can get rolling. If that's... Are you set?
Yeah, let me toss it on. Can I do speakers? Is that going to fuck everything up, or...
Like speakerphone?
Yeah.
It might get a little bit of feedback.
Then I'll just keep it to my ear.
Well, are you going to get a little bit of like tennis elbow?
No, I'll be good.
Okay.
I'll be all right.
I don't know. Speaking of which, if you do get tennis elbow, let me go ahead and plug our sponsor. Our new sponsor for this season is Plate Muscle Relief Cream. That's platemusclerelief.com. CBD cream. There's no THC. You can validate all that information at platemusclerelief.com to see also that there's 7,000 milligrams per milliliter in this amazing product. platemusclerelief.com. So, just in case you get muscle, you need relief.
I do need to have my shipment come in of that, so that way I can rub it on my shoulder. I've been having some problems recently.
Nice. Well, I mean, not nice, but yeah, we'll be sure to get that to you. Now that we're all set, that's out. I can cut and copy and paste wherever I want that. But so let's catch up, man. Let's let our listeners know what you've been up to. You've been on the show before. I mean, most of them know who you are. We got Mike Vinn on tonight with the Double Dog Talk Show, and he does great things. He's a veteran and also a stand-up comedian, and been very busy lately from what I can tell. And today, from what I can see, is a very special day to Mike, and I'll let Mike announce that.
Well, I mean, yesterday was a special day. It was my 5-year anniversary with my wife. We've been together for 10 years, married for 5. So yeah, that's that.
That's beautiful.
But if you want to talk about September 10th, if you want to talk about that about, 21 years ago, that's the day I was doing helo dunker training, and my platoon commander, as we were waiting for transport to go back to Horno from Miramar, he goes, "You don't know what could happen. War could happen tomorrow." And he was right. So,
holy shit, that's so true, huh?
There is a little historical factor in there on a very special day as well, because that's the
very special day eve, I would say. Yeah. That's a nuts occurrence that to bring that up as well, that you're celebrating something as beautiful as your nuptials, right? And then kind of contrasting it with something that is a negative, or at least perceived negative. And that's a lot of things that I talk about. We've been talking to a lot of guests lately about perceived negatives and how to overcome adversity, right? And 9/11, everybody was affected by that, either one way or another, or currently. And the wars and the conflicts that came from that have been extremely impactful. And the same thing for those first responders that showed up and did the darn thing and handled themselves and, got people to safety, as many as they could save. And nowadays, we're still remembering. We'll never forget. And that's a pretty big deal for you to experience it that way. Coming back literally, from training, and then bam. How was that to you? And how did that affect you, like, moving forward, I would expect in training at that time?
All right, so we were doing helo dunker training primarily because on a workup, the series beforehand, there was a helo that went down, and some of the guys died, and that was all within training. It tipped over. It didn't land properly. It tipped over the side of the Baumhammer Shard, and so then the following year, they made sure we all went through helo dunker training. For those who don't know, helo dunker training is they simulate a helicopter crash in the water, flip it around, you're blindfolded, you may or may not have an oxygen tank with you, and then you just have to evacuate yourself outside of the simulated helicopter crash. So that happens. My command was notorious for never locking down transpo from anything we were doing. So we were always just waiting and waiting and waiting. I was a senior Marine for, in my unit because I'd been in for 3 years at that point. And, a bunch of us were getting ready to get out. And our lieutenant was very gung-ho. We called him Scrappy Doo because he was short and he always was like ready for a fight.
Just like Scrappy Doo. That's hilarious.
And he was about a fucking idiot.
Oh my God.
So we nicknamed him Scrappy Doo. And but yeah, he was always like, you never know. War could happen tomorrow. And then, next day is 9/11. Next day we're getting ready to go out and train in the field. And we just, we watched the shit on the news. And we went out, and then while we were out there, they told everybody to get back to their barracks or back to their camps, whatever, and we had to go back to Horno, which, by the way, anybody who doesn't know what Camp Horno is, it's a subdivision of Camp Pendleton, where the infantry, a big group of infantry lives. So we had to go back there.
It's also known as oven in Spanish.
Yes, yeah. And it's hot. It's very fucking hot there. So we get back to Horno, everything shuts down. We've got, Constantine wire where all of a sudden, instead of training to go out on deployment on another Westpac, now we've got the entire bases locked down and we're running checkpoints through Horno in and out. So yeah, we turned right into duty, loaded weapons, like who knows what's going to happen. Let's just make sure that all our guys are good to go and we're awaiting orders. So that's what happened when that happened.
That's insane. Not to give a piece of my story too, to overtake that, because I was in high school still, or to make you feel old. But I was still in high school, and I was actually we were going into NJROTC class, and I did the 4 years for that, and that was very cool. And then, but the coolest part was walking in. I shouldn't say cool, right? But walking into a military office, right? Essentially, and our captain back then, his name was Captain Zinzer. He was a Vietnam veteran, helicopter pilot for the Hueys, and it was just a very weird day. Like some people were crying, some people were just staring at the TV, and here's me. I don't know. I was just kind of like staring around, going like, "Wow, this shit's fucked, bro." Like from every which direction. I'm like, "What's going on?" And it was like, of course, it already had happened, because I'm guessing that would be the time frame, because I don't remember the times that it happened. But they were replaying it all through. It just seems like the whole day was that morning, just on repeat. And I have a cynical side of myself, right? And I always, I get not so much on the soapbox, but because I don't want to, minimize anybody's sacrifice or anything from that day, but more so that a lot of people tend to forget that 3 buildings went down. And like I watched all 3 buildings. Like as a kid, it was I felt a lot more impacted as a kid and adolescent, and still in high school, going, "Wow, what the fuck? Like, what is this?" And
yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened that day.
Yeah, with the Pentagon, and again, the flight that crashed out in the field, and just all of this stuff was just overwhelming. And like nowadays, we're so inundated in social media and all that. So I think kids don't really grasp the I would say the gravity,
the weight behind it. Yeah, the gravity behind it, like how insane it was. Plus, it was if the second attack on the first attack on U.S. soil, Hawaii was not yet a state. So Pearl Harbor, Hawaii was a territory, not a state.
Yeah,
and so this is essentially the very first attack on U.S. soil of that kind of magnitude.
Yeah,
we've had
New
terrorist
York
attacks before.
Yeah,
but yeah, they went after our financial institutions. So they tried to collapse our economy, and then also at the same time collapse our government with the Pentagon, who is if everybody listening obviously knows that the Pentagon is the the pinnacle of all our military knowledge, all our intelligence and stuff like that. And then they tried to crash into the White House as well to take out our leadership. So, yeah, that entire day was nuts, especially sitting in a military standpoint in the Marine Corps infantry that, all this shit's happening all at once.
Right, because at the time nobody knew who threw the punch. I should take that back. I know somebody knew. Right? I didn't fucking know. I'm just this kid that's trying to, hide my fucking boner and my fucking lap out. My tuck away. In high school still. No bullshit. And you were a grown ass man in the military, in the infantry, doing training operations. And here's Scrappy Doo, fucking Nostradamus pulling asshole. What's that?
I was 3 years out of high school. I graduated in '98. That shit happened in '01. So I was barely, and I was 17 when I went in.
So you were over 18. That's grown ass man.
I had just turned 21.
Holy shit!
Just turned 21 when that happened.
Holy shit! That's nuts. Because then the lead up. What was that like? For military. For military guys, like we know, I'm not gonna say we know, but a lot of people know I wouldn't say the beginning, but their personal experiences, and we lose a lot of tradition and heritage and culture in the military by forgetting that, not saying that you were my previous generation, but you were, and you had to experience the war in a different perspective, a different paradigm. And a lot of my guys that I deployed with, they deployed earlier on or during the initial push, or they were worked up for both, or this or that, the other. And again, when I came in, I was a young cat. I was 19, turned 21 in Iraq, and that was my war experience, all that corpsman stuff. But it was already established, So for you to see, from the collapse of the buildings, or I should say the impact to the collapse, to the workup, to the stress, to the lockdown, and then to the figuring it out. How did that feel? And how was that?
Well, I don't know how it was for a lot of other units, but I know for my company, we were fucking ready to go. Like we were amped. Like we're you know what I mean? Like everything was just popping off. The first unit that was already on deployment went straight over there. We left early and we're in direct support of Operation Enduring Freedom. So we just went straight out there. And we were just amped, ready to go. And, we didn't. we got fucked.
Oh, really?
We got orders to go in. We got orders to go in. It was right when the Army started taking over and we started taking our first casualties. Mm. And so they were like, well, let's send the Marines back in. We got a unit on standby. Let's send them back in. The Army obviously can't handle it. And then the Army got all cocky and was like, no, we can do it. So we got the order to go in. We were blasting Kid Rock's American Badass all night while we're fucking loading up our magazines, getting all our shit ready, all our gear good to go. And that next day, we're on the flight deck, about ready to jump on the helos to go inland. And I remember this distinctly. Our weapons are pointed down because, you have to when you go jump into a helo. And we're just getting ready to get called in to go do it. And the captain of the pilot or the A pilot or whatever they call him jumps out of the helo, waves us off. It's like, it's been canked. The mission's been canked. And we're all like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell's going on? It's like, the Army took over. You guys are good. You guys don't have to do anything. We're like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? So that was that. I mean, we did some, little security missions for supply and stuff like that. But we just got everything taken away from us at the last second. Got back, got home, and then I got out, and then Iraq happened. And it was like, it was just kind of a jacked process for some of us who were trying to go and then didn't go. Because you go guaranteed infantry, you're looking for a fight.
Right.
And that fight never happens.
Yeah, it's like I was just explaining that, getting that boner and never sticking it in, It's like, you work so hard to become something that isn't. Well, I'm not going to say it's not human nature, but being a Marine and an infantry personnel of any kind, and even for any other military, being specifically coordinated or designed and engineered, throughout the metamorphosis of warfare into an infantryman, you're always looking to go or kill, right? Yet, and all that great shit.
That's well, I mean, that's part of the lifestyle. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Like, and then this is another reason why PTSD and stuff like that is such a big issue, is because every day when you're training, you're trying to get yourself into that mindset of being a savage, being a warrior, having to go out there and take lives, and and you have to live that. You have to think that, and then when you do it, and then when it's done, you don't. And you get back to who you are, then everything hits you like, holy fuck.
Like a ton of fucking bricks. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you don't have, because in the heat of everything, you don't ever have any time to deal with anything. You know what I mean? You don't have time to think. You just react. You just do. And that's what the training is there for you to do. It's there to make it so you don't have to think. So you just react. That's why you do things over and over and over and over again to the point where it's boring and monotonous, but if you pay attention and you do it, then it just becomes second nature. And then after when everything, all the dust settles and everything's said and done, then you're like, oh shit, I almost died. Fucking Phipps is fucking dead. Fucking Johnson is fucking dead. Petey is fucking shot to shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm still like, what the fuck just happened? I just blew up 15 dudes. So that's where there's no come down from the high. And
there's that shock. That entire, and if you're coming out, like I don't just mean that shock coming from combat or coming from deployment. Then to, like, for a lot of guys, there was this immediate shock where you're in actual conflict. Like some of it was hand to hand early on, some of it was door to door, some of it was rooftop to rooftop, some of it was vehicle. All of this shit happens in every different shift of warfare. That now within 30 years of warfare, or I should say 20 plus, but we're looking at it as a whole and go, how do we expect people to decompress, right, from something that they don't decompress from while they're in country, because there's no real such thing, because you're still in country. You don't want to get comfortable. I learned this from my cousin.
You can't. You get comfortable, you die.
Exactly. I learned this from my cousin who was in Vietnam. He was the guy all the way out doing everything. He never wanted to be on base. He volunteered for everything. And the one day he came back and went and took a shower, they mortared the showers. Everybody knows you can find fixed buildings a lot easier than mobile targets. So mortars, rockets, IEDs, VB IEDs now, anything they can aim and set time and get it into a direction, that's the goal. It's guerrilla warfare. They're not huge on a lot of different things like weaponry or assets or resources, so they have to utilize them in such a great way. And this is great. Like warfare, oh, it's great, right? No, but it is. And what I learned was, because he lost his legs, and what I learned was just never be stagnant, never be in one spot. And then I found out the deployment that I was up for was with the STP in Fris on a built-out base in Al Qaim, Iraq, in Al Anbar province. And I was like, hey, okay. So, all right, guys, like I know I don't have any say-so in this, so I'm just going to study and do my best. And when we got out there, there's a lot of different experiences. Our infantry units were tied into a lot of different great things, and not to dive too far in, because I'd rather have the people that did that work be able to talk about it, because I would fuck shit up. I'd be like, yeah, training, and then the hoop day. I'm like, no, bro, that's not what you call that. I'm like, fuck, fine, remember, I don't know shit. But my specialty was, fix the people who got fucked up and get them back out there and save lives, where your specialty as an infantryman is to take lives. And I love that. People have to love that, I think. Not necessarily in the sense of love, like how we love our children, how we love our jobs, in the sense of not other than killing people, but our jobs like
it's a necessary evil. It's a
necessary evil. Thank you. Yeah, that's perfect. And you begin to love it, right? And I noticed that.
And the people that do that are not evil men. They're good men that are willing to do violent things to protect a certain way of life.
Exactly.
So that's where I think that's where, and then, we both live in California. We both deal with a lot of bullshit static coming from, a certain group of people about the things we've had to do.
Yeah. I like that topic. You said a certain group of, because we always try to avoid, the political speak, and I do. But, I really want this season to be more or less like a coming to not just the table, but coming to terms where we kind of all look at each other and go, the left has some bullshit, the right has some bullshit. And if I'm going to be pointed out because I did some things or that thing or this or the other, why can't we point out some things, that things or the other? And if we're going to talk about body count, I know less Marines with body counts than most liberals. I'm not going to title it as Democratic or otherwise. And their vaginas.
All I'm going to say is both sides hate me because both sides label me as the other side because of my neutral views.
Do you find that to be more annoying than anything, or does it cause you to be more apathetic towards things, like towards society?
I'm completely annoyed. Right. Okay. I haven't gotten to the apathetic part of it. I'm just like, you do realize you guys are both fucking retarded, right?
Yeah.
See, you guys are both fucking stupid. Like here's the thing, and here's what people don't realize about America. We're great because we have everybody here. We're great because we have a little bit of everything that's mixed up in our pot. We have the best stew of the world. And by meaning that is we've got people from all different cultures. If you want to go out and you want to eat Thai food, you get to go out and eat Thai food. If you want to eat, Eastern European food, you get to go out and eat your Eastern European food. There's Mexican food. There's soul food. You know what I mean? Like, we have all the different cultures here. And on top of that, we have all the different political beliefs. You know what I mean? Like, we need parts of the Republican system. We need parts of the Democrat system. We need parts of the socialist system. How do you think we have public education, our police, Social Security? You know what I mean? Those are all socialist things. And I'm not a socialist at all, or a communist at all. I just believe that we need a little bit of piece of everything to make sure our society works to its best advantage.
You know what? You sound absolutely 100% fuck nuts. Because to me, you're like absolutely rational. And to everybody that usually listens, our listeners are the same. They're the exact same. But you know what? The left will call you fucking nuts. The right will call you fucking nuts.
That's why everybody fucking hates me. That's why all the political things hate me. They always label me as the other side, where I'm like, I'm not. I'm just here in the middle with no political representation at all. Just going, no. We need freedom of speech. We need the right to bear arms. We also need medical freedom. We also need our education system. The three things that should never be for profit are education, corrections, and healthcare. Those are the three things that should never be for profit in a prosperous society, yet all three of them are for profit.
That is very true.
You know what I mean? Like there are different things that we need as a people, as a society, and everybody just wants to label everything a certain way, but we can't do that anymore. And I'm sorry to make it political all the way up the top, but it's just fucking frustrating.
To me, that's what's necessary. Because so two different topics have been coming up a lot. Like recently talked to Brian Simpson, really enjoyed catching up with him, but we discuss a lot like with the VA, and one of his poignant statements was, the system's not meant to take care of you. It's meant to take care of those who don't become frustrated with all the paperwork and the loopholes and this and that and the other thing, the repetitiousness. And to me, it kind of hit home because that fucking statement transcends to so much shit right now. And after 2.5, nearly fucking 3 years of, what we've been through with COVID-19 and monkeypox now and jabs and, all the political bullshits between the World Economic Forums and the who's and the what's. And I'm like, look, like I'm you're in the annoyance phase, and I'm going to send all the positive prayers, vibes, and shit your way, because fuck, when I went through the annoyance phase, man, I went into a hole. I didn't talk to people for 2.5 fucking years. I'm just coming out to the apathetic phase right now. And to me, it's like, hey, if people want to get political, because when you have a rational conversation, that's where the fucking results come from. Okay.
Yeah, but nobody can have a rational conversation anymore, and that's the problem. Everybody's stuck on their feelings and feelings don't fucking matter. You get to control your feelings. You get to change your feelings. So feelings are obsolete and nobody wants to deal with facts. And that's where the big problem comes in. And that's what they do. And that's what the politicians always do this. Watch every election. It's always slander campaigns against the other. It's never what I'm going to do, why I'm so good. It's always, you can. I hope you vote for me, because if you vote for the other person, you're voting for the person that loves fucking pedophiles and fucking loves communism and fucking loves, he's corrupt and crooked and all this other shit. And it's always, there's never, I'm better because this is what I stand for. It's always, that person's worse than me.
Do you think that's for a reason though? Because
it's so they get votes. That's the whole reason for it. You can control people with fear.
Right, but that's kind of like how comedy is, right? Like you can read a room and you could be like, "Cool, I can talk about politics tonight," or "Hey, I can definitely cut some dick jokes, fart jokes, pussy jokes. I can say the word cunt probably. I could probably even dip into a couple things, but I'm not gonna dip into this or that, and that's kind of what I'm saying about politics, because politicians are so glassy when it comes to the way they approach things. They're so practiced before they even get out in the room, and they maintain 100% the image. And I mean that because a lot of times, a lot of politicians that I've met and people that have tried to run, they come off as, I guarantee everybody's met this person either at your job or in life, like college or school, where they're there, but they're the hollowest, most non-substantial person when they come to doing things, right? You see them for who they are. They're usually sharp dressed, clean cut, but they're not necessarily the type of person you would trust to do just about any kind of quality of work. They're definitely going to fuck you in your ass. Like, it's not going to be a little tight fucking. It's going to be like, as long as I can get away with it, it's going to be like, maybe I slipped you something in your drink, fucking, it gets pretty bad pretty quick with politicians.
Well, politicians, yes. Comedians, no. Comedians, and I was just talking about this the other day with another comic friend of mine about when you go to a comedy club and it's not like a headliner weekend, it's just a showcase show, all the comics are cool with each other, usually. I mean, there's some different spots, and I have different stories being in other cities doing things where it's been very cold for me. But normally in a comedy community, you have people from all walks of life together, like the Island of Misfit Toys, where they're just cool, where normally they would never be a part of each other's social circle, but because they're all comedians, that they coexist together. And I'm talking about, gay, straight, left, right, you know what I mean? Like all these different people coming together, and it's a very beautiful thing with that.
See, that also sounds beautiful, dude. Like straight up.
But because we also call bullshit on everything and we make fun of stuff. So there's that common bond with that.
See, I always vibe with people that do that, even whether it be adversity, whether it be personal ideas or concepts. But I vibe with the we're here. Let's talk about it.
But I mean, when you talk about that, that's why it was so easy for me to transition from the Marine Corps into stand-up comedy.
That's wonderful.
Because there were 2 years where I was lost, and I was like, what am I going to fucking do with my life? And I was like, well, I always wanted to try stand-up, and I started doing stand-up, and it was just my first year in the Marine Corps, where it was people from all over the place. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I'm a white kid that grew up in black and Mexican neighborhoods, dealing with white kids that are fucking country bumpkins that have never seen a black person in their life, with black people from big cities, dudes from Texas, dudes from Kansas. You know what I mean? Like, so there's people from all over the place. There's Mexicans from Fresno, and like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like a
fucking Fresno.
You know, I mean, it's like
you made me fucking choke.
To this day, one of my absolute best friends, my brother, is, you know, he went back to Fresno. I used to go to Fresno on the weekends, you know, just so we'd go hang out and whatever, and you know what I mean, like.
So I got a big question for you before we move on from Fresno, bro. Okay, because you fucking made me
you
fucking
have to
choke.
move on from Fresno.
No, I'm from Lemoore, California. So
I've been there.
Yeah. And so when anybody mentions Fresno, I'm always trying to plug hometown and be like, hey, you know, this little farm town right over around the yonder. Because you probably drove past it or you said you just been there. So what was your experience? Why? I guess.
I mean, it's just a place.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, they have their opinions of it. Like, I mean, if I was in the Navy and I was stationed there, I don't know what I would do. I'd go nuts. But like for me, it was, you know, I got some rose petaled, or what do they call it? Rose colored lenses. And,
Rose colored glasses.
Yeah, there you go. So, you know, I reminisce about wrestling and, you know, the people that I care about, my old friends, my new friends, all my friends from there, you know, family friends and shit. And so anytime I hear about Fresno, or even sometimes Tulare or Bakersfield or somewhere around in and around there, I'm always like, yeah, hometown, baby. And it's like, I don't know how it is nowadays. I haven't been back since I don't even know when. But that's crazy that you have a homie out in Fresno.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it was like a second family, because like I would go up there and hang out with his, you know, tios and tias and ninos and ninas and primos and primas and all that other stuff, and they just adopted me into their family, so it became like a second family to me.
That's
and
what's
like,
up,
yeah,
dude.
it's not anything to look at. It's not, you know, like braggable or anything like that. We're like, yeah, bro, I'm hanging out in Fresno all weekend. Like you would be like, yeah, I'm up in Hollywood, just hanging out and partying.
Yeah, there's no draw to it.
No, there's no draw, but to us,
the curb appeal is like a bit off. the neighborhood, you know, it's well decently priced. They're Section 8 if you need it. You know, it's Fresno.
Like, but for me, it was family. You know what I mean? Which means more than a place means. So
no, I completely agree, because like in that here's a further, like, even more smaller shout out. It's to Stratford. All right. I used to go hang out with my dudes in Stratford, and I'm not going to tell you what we did, but we hang out and we have fun. And it was exactly what you were talking about. It's like family, you know. We were all wrestlers.
Oh, we went to barn parties in Clovis.
What? You're gonna bring up barn parties, bro?
Fucking barn parties in Clovis.
Clovis barn parties. Okay, so now that you're bringing this shit, when I came home in 2022. So 2006. All right, some of the dopest parties, even before then when I was a kid, that you could get to were barn parties, okay? And Clovis barn parties were the parties you want to get into, because it's money, there's people, it's all different kinds of groups of dudes and girls, and oh man, it was the dopest dope. But barn parties, yeah. Man, memories, you're making me have them.
Who knew a little fucking white kid from the south side of Chicago would be in barn parties in Clovis?
So, like, coming from Chicago, right? I had family in just, I think it would be in the northern part, more close towards where the naval base was, which is called Great Lakes, right? That's what it's called?
Yep, Great Lakes Naval Base. That's where Navy boot camp is.
So there we used to have hotel parties. And that was a big difference. Like, whoa, it's the same kind of like, you know, everybody's drinking, having a good time, and, you know, boys and girls getting together, having a beautiful day. But that was something unique to that area that was very different, because, again, the cold. Like, oh my, I never experienced cold like that before in my life.
Dude, I wonder why I stayed in California.
No, I completely respect that decision. This was like, why do people live here? right? I love the snow. I love going snowboarding, like as a California snowboarder, right? Like this is fucking a rare good season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's 30 degrees and you get to leave.
Exactly, but fucking that whole fucking slice of earth is just, hey, it's -40 with wind chill today. You're gonna go outside and stand here for a couple hours. Walk inside, pour hot, ice cold coffee on yourself. Would it be like, wait, what? Ice cold coffee? Yeah, it's gonna feel hot. It's gonna feel hot. That's the part. That's the problem. As long as it's not frozen, anything beyond frozen is hot to you right now. And it was the scariest sensation to run cold water on my hand, knowing it's cold. But my God, it was hotter than every part of my body.
And your hands are tingling and all the craziness.
Yes. Dude, the numbness. Fuck. Oh God, don't even get me started. They try to convince us to do a polar dive. And I'm like, no, I'm not white. Yeah. I'm Mexican as fuck, bro. I need some Vicks just looking at you guys. Like, what the fuck is going on? Nah, it was great times, man. Great times. So in Chicago, did you join from Chicago area and then come to San Diego? How'd you get over here?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I was also JROTC. I was a Marine Corps JROTC, luckily. And, when I was 14, I walked into the recruiting office and I was like, I want to go. And they said, how old are you? And I said, 14. They go, come back in a few years. And I came back every week, at least once a week. I was in that recruiting office hanging out.
Wow. That's a unique experience. I've never met somebody that wanted to join that bad.
All my uncles were Army and Air Force, and I had somebody in the Navy as well. So, and I'm second generation American. So all my uncles and stuff like that all served. All my grandparents all came from Eastern Europe to America. They ran from the Nazis and they ran from the Soviet Union.
Holy shit, bro.
Yeah, bro.
that's a great reason to fucking run. And then but to be second generation, like that's such a heavy weight to live.
Yeah, they wouldn't teach me their language. I used to want to learn Lithuanian as a child, and they wouldn't teach me their language because they were ostracized when they came over here because they didn't speak English.
You're gonna laugh at me, bro, but that's the same reason my dad didn't teach me Spanish, because he got made fun of when he's for third generation, I believe, but for the exact same reasons. Maybe it was just the time. Fuck, I don't even know, but like that was one of the exact same reasons that people ask me Spanish and I was like, blah, blah, blah.
And they never realized how much of a disadvantage they put you at.
Well, no, they did. They do now. Fuck, they do now.
Yeah, now they do. Yeah, now they do. But like, they could have given us such a big advantage in our lives by us being able to be bilingual.
Yeah.
Just like, it's insane.
That's such a trip, dude. So when you served, you sat there, and so you had a concept. So you were dedicated. You wanted to go infantry, clearly, or was just this the opening?
Clearly, I wanted to go Marine Corps infantry, and that was it. Because if you're gonna, I always believe you're gonna do something, you do it to the fullest.
That is a true statement.
You know what I mean? Like you don't half-ass it. Like the Marine Corps is the toughest branch. You join the Marine Corps, you join the infantry. If you're going to join the Marine Corps, you got to join the infantry, because if you do anything other than the infantry, you're not really a Marine. I mean, you are, but you know what I mean? Like there's
every Marine is infantry.
Yeah, they say, yeah.
You know, I say that because I know enough infantry and I know enough Marines where I get it, and we're all the same people. But then I remind them that I'm just a corpsman, and they go, "Oh, wait a minute, FMF? Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay, Doc."
No, Devil Doc is the perfect name for you.
Exactly. And it's fucking hilarious. It's so funny because that's the exact reason why I joined okay. So I wanted to join the Marine Corps because I was an idiot and I didn't do well. Not necessarily. This is lies. What I meant is, again, this is lies, right? So check it. I was wrestling, did all the great stuff, and I didn't know what the Marine Corps offered, and I didn't know what the Navy offered. All I knew, this is why I was an idiot, not because I wanted it, right? But because I didn't know what the opportunity. You knew. You were probably looking all the brochures for years and years.
I didn't care what the opportunities were.
Oh, you didn't? See, same here. I didn't know any better at the time.
College. So, I had my bachelor's degree, but I never thought about going to college at all.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah, so
see, I didn't think college was good for me. I tried the whole community fucking college thing, but that didn't work out. So when I go into the Marine Corps recruiting office, right, I was too young to sign up, so my dad was there with me. And we discussed that I wanted to go infantry. I wanted to do hand-to-hand combat training because I wanted to utilize wrestling. Like, I knew that the Marine Corps also had a wrestling team and, all these different opportunities. So I was like, fuck yeah, bro. And it was dope. And so the recruiter was all about it. And then my dad brought up a singular question. He goes, do you guys offer any kind of medical field? Because I just, as growing up, I was this weird kid that liked reading encyclopedias, medical books, anything to do with weird sciencey stuff was my forte. I liked it. And so after that question, the Marine recruiter was like, nah, right? And then
that's probably the best question for your father to ask.
Right, as honestly. A father, bomb, right?
Who pays attention to his child?
Exactly. So it's just such a good. Well, I'm sorry, my bad. Fucker. Wait a. Here's a great story. I'm just kidding. Oh man, but no, like. So he did that, right? And then literally a heartbeat next is this fucking Navy recruiter, hardcore Navy looking dude, just goofy. And
just fat, looks like he should be on a box of Cracker Jacks.
Legitimately, okay? Pops his head in and goes, hey, you ever hear of FMF Navy Corpsman? Legit, I swear to God,
he got his dog ball on his head upside down.
Exactly, with the little tilt. The wind was blowing in his fucking shit and everything. Fucking, I don't know why the fans were on, just on him. Have you ever heard of an FMF Navy Corps? Yeah. Just right. And so then the Navy guy looked at the Marine Corps dude, and the sergeant was like, yeah, I can see you that way. Yeah, for sure. And then so we stopped kind of talking to the Marine guy. He walked me over to the Navy guy, and then he showed me what Navy Corpsman was. And I was like, word? I get to do what? I go FMF and then, huh? Nah, word? And so I signed up immediately. And they go, yeah, but you won't be leaving until like next May. And I was like, nah, is there like another, like, can we do this quicker? And then there's this other program, and you could sign up for it. And so immediately, if something opens up for that rate, which I didn't know at the time was stupid deployable. And I was like, oh, that's what I wanted, though, because look at the brochure. I'll get look at that. Oh, that's some cool stuff. I'll get to wear makeup, right? And so then on top of it, like a week goes by, and they call me up and said, hey, you can go like next week. And I was like, okie doke. And so it really hit home. It really hit fast when I joined, and it was in 2004. And that was a very different time and era too for warfare, for Iraq and both Afghanistan. That's such a trip to think back about that shit, dude. Such a fucking trip.
Yeah, it is a wild time.
So now then, when you transitioned into comedy, you said you enjoyed it, clearly, right? And you're still enjoying it. How did you find a home in comedy and make it a lifestyle, make it a professional choice? How did that come about? How did you sharpen your sword, so to speak?
Well, I'm also very bullheaded to where if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. So I just got on the stage. I found out when the open mic was in San Diego. It was at the La Jolla Comedy Store, and I just got on the stage and I just started to do stand-up. And I just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. The first time I went on stage, I had no jokes. I didn't know comics wrote jokes and wrote sets. I just, I was like, so they're just funny.
You just showed up and...
I showed up, signed my name up, and got my 3 minutes, and yeah, and I just went.
Are you sure you didn't like mistake your desire to become like an improvisation actor? Because you bring up the whole writing stuff. I did not know that either. Growing up, I didn't know that movies.
Who does know that? I guess written. Other people do, because like I signed up. Like here's how it went back then. Like the system is different now. Since I've altered it and changed it. But the system back then is you showed up, a clipboard went on the front door at 4:00, and everybody signed their name up. And so, you'd have to get there at like 3:30, stand in line, and then write your name on the clipboard. And then the show started at 7. Doors open at 6:45. And so you'd have nothing. I rode a bus out there, so I wasn't going to drive my car back home and then come back out there.
because I rode a bus there, and it took me about 2.5 hours to get there by bus.
Holy shit.
So I just went to the bar across the street and ran into other people that were doing the open mic, and they had notebooks, and they were talking about writing jokes and bouncing shit off each other, and they found out I was doing it, and I was like, no, I don't. They asked what I was talking about. I was like, I don't know. Like, well, what do you... what'd you write down? I was like, write what down? I was like, I had no idea. I was fucking green as green could be. And, yeah, I just, I was like, oh, you're supposed to write jokes. And then I just observed some stuff, and I was like, all right, I'll talk about that, and I'll make that work on stage. And then that's how I did my first set. I just talked about some of the stuff that happened at the bar across the street, how I felt at the time being on stage, being my first time. There was some chuckles in the audience and some smiles on the faces. And I was like, you know what? Considering I was unprepared, that went a lot better than I thought it was going to go. And I'm going to do this again. And I just kept doing it. And now I go all over the country doing stand-up. I basically run the Comedy Store. I do all the booking for the La Jolla Comedy Store now. They just keep, giving me more responsibilities and different duties and throwing money at me. And, I'm happy here because I love this place.
That's beautiful.
So, that's how I do it. And now I created the fucking mandatory fund thing.
That's tight. And that's something I wanted to bring up was the mandatory fund thing. You and I discussed things a while back, and it was a little bit more somber. Again, to plug suicide awareness and suicide prevention. That's what we were discussing last time. And I just want to plug the number, the 988+1, or add 1, or call 1, dial 1. It's 988. Come on, this is not that fucking complicated. If you need resources, if you need help, reach out. And if you don't, prevent your own fucking suicide. Show up to an open mic night, or show up to mandatory fun night. Jesus, there it is.
Yeah, which is a military term.
Exactly. And so for that, let's lead into more talking about mandatory fun night. Get your shit out there. That's what I'm talking about for veterans nowadays. Because, it's been a few years. I'm not going to lie to you. I kept my mouth fucking shut, worried about, responsibility, liability, but now I'm like, fuck it. More than not, the people really want to kill themselves because they feel like they can't reach out. They can't talk, or they can't say something like, what if, shut the fuck up about what if, take action towards something other than taking your life at least for 48 hours after thinking about it, right? And I mean it, hardcore. This is the shit I learned. This is what's kept me alive, not necessarily resources from the VA or from anybody else. I'm not saying that shit is bad. What I'm saying is it ain't going to get to you at your worst times because you are going to be recluse and shut off. And so for us to talk about what's coming up with Mandatory Fun Night, that's the most important shit, is just getting back out there. I think a lot of people in the United States and across the world, we want to get back into shit. Let's get back into living life. You know what I mean? So Mandatory Fun Night. It's something I've been trying to get. Here I am talking shit, right? It's been something I've been trying to get to, but life kind of comes and goes, right? Busyness. So I want to give you a couple minutes to kind of break down what is Mandatory Fun Night.
So Mandatory Fun started with a buddy of mine, T.D. Cunningham, who is Marine Recon. He's getting ready to retire. One of the guys that trained him, Scott Young, was one of my boots that I trained in the infantry before he went recon. So it's a weird connection between me and him. And it started out as just veterans that were doing a comedy special that ended up on Vet TV. So that's how that was the original start to it all. And then after that, the thing came out. We had a release party, and 2 days later, the world shut down. So we had the release party on, I think it was March 11th of 2020. And then March 13th, Friday the 13th is when everything shut down.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how that worked out for us with that. And then me and TD were talking about bringing it back and trying to do other things. And then he got stuck doing other stuff. And he, said, hey, I trust you. Just take the ball and run with it. I've got to go deal with the school stuff. You take the brand, do whatever you want. And so that's where we started doing live shows. He's popped in on a couple of those. We've got in productions a podcast, the Mandatory Fun podcast, and then we're just trying to build it to where we can have more specials and everything like that, and just make it a place for everybody on the lineup is a veteran. So it's all veterans that do stand-up comedy. The jokes aren't necessarily just veteran-based or military-based, so anybody can come do it, but it's all of us together. And, we just want, we just want to give a release to those people who are suffering or those who are not, that just want to come out and be with their brothers and be with their sisters and be with their family. You know what I mean? Like, because we're all brothers and sisters. We all fought for the common good. We all dealt with some shit, some people more than others, but we're all here. And it's a night where we all can get together and laugh at some military humor, some regular humor, and just enjoy it.
And support each other. That's the biggest thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, another thing I'm trying to do with it is I'm trying to work with different veteran organizations, like 0800. I have from the USO stuff that I've done in San Diego. One of the former people that worked there is one of the people on the chair at 0800, which helps people in the military transition into civilian life. So I've been, working with them, East County Veterans Alliance, and a bunch of other veteran organizations, just to try and not only get the Mandatory Fund name out there, but to work with them with different, build funds for them, do different events for them as well. So that way we all support each other.
Exactly. It's all about networking and building resources that we can connect to. And that's something that you bring to the table. Not only are you a veteran, not only are you a stand-up comedian and, running the show down there, right? The Comedy Store in La Jolla, right? But you're developing a great network for veterans to be able to be approached and approach within. It's very difficult to find a place where outside of certain places, right? Like bars or VFWs and American Legion posts. Like some people just genuinely, they don't vibe off that. Maybe they're legitimately just wanting to laugh, or maybe not. Like I fell in love with comedy again as a kid, but I realized it was my defense mechanism when I was a young man. So it wasn't like, oh, this is a profitable skill and, I'm going to be able to develop this thing. And then as I grew older, I became more, drawn to the concept. So one of the shows I went to was in La Jolla Comedy Show at the Comedy Store. And this was back in 2000, and I want to say this got to be October 2008 in October or something like that, around Halloween. And it was such a unique experience. The gentleman telling jokes, I couldn't tell you his name, but he wore a suit and tie and kept his composure throughout the entire show as this like professional, like very, very gentlemanly. You could have thrown him on like a 1960s Dick Van Dyke Hour, And the funniest part though was towards the end, you could tell he was feeling the heat and also wanting to kind of relax the room. And then he kind of loosened the tie. And I was realizing that there's a lot more going on than the guy just telling the joke. Like it's like, oh, da-da-da, like there was a lot more dynamic tone. And in that, it just was like, whoa, what is this thing? Everybody's having a good time. We're laughing our asses off. And so more and more stand-up shows that I went to, I was like, wow, this is a really rare thing. It's different than watching a comedy show, like or a TV show or a movie. It's different than seeing a funny actor or even being around your funny friends. Like it's different. This is like a theater thing. And I also learned like the hard way what heckling was. I didn't know, okay, my bad, that you're not supposed to answer the questions, even regardless.
You can answer questions directed at you, just like, yeah.
Well, to the crowd, it's not supposed to, if it's directed, no, to you, yeah. Sir, over there with the black shirt, white fucking you fuck. Yeah. That's cool. No, I meant in general, like, hey, have you ever had a fucking margarita spill in your lap? I have. That shit was great. Like, that's not what they want. Like,
you know what's funny about that? I always tell new comics, don't ask questions on stage.
That's so smart. Because
I always tell them, I was like, you don't have to ask, have you ever had a margarita spilled on you? And it's like, you could just be like, I had a margarita spilt on me, and it was the worst fucking thing ever. And everyone's like, "Yes, it's the fucking worst."
So it turns.
Have you ever had this happen to you?
Yeah.
Have you ever?
It turns it in.
Have you?
It leaves like I felt so awkward, and honestly, one of my best friends and my wife was with me that night, and shit, this was God, what was his name?
If he was in a suit and tie, was he the headliner or was he
No, this was another night at American Comedy Co. And I just had started the podcast, and me and my buddy went out, and Graham Elwood was there, and the guy that smokes weed all the time.
Doug Benson.
Yes, Doug Benson. Thank you. And so then after the show, like he goes, "Oh, I'd smoke, anybody in the military," and because they both do a lot of shows for the military and shit. And everybody in the whole room's like, yeah. There's a lot of people there. And then somebody else was like, "Oh, anybody smoke that weed?" I was like, "I smoke the shit out of weed." And my buddy goes, "Hey, you're not supposed to talk." I was like, "Oh, my bad." He goes, "Here, have your beer." I'm like, "All right, buddy." And then that's actually the first night that I got to really promote the show, the Devil Doc Talk Show. We met with Graham Elwood after the show and Doug Benson, and took a rip off of a vape pen, and we're talking about the podcast briefly. And my buddy goes, "Hey, Graham, would you like to be on?" And he was actually one of the first season guests at the American Comedy Co. We recorded there with a couple of other fellas, and it was really interesting. It was really really eye-opening on like what you're saying, the warmth of comedians. Like when I think people don't understand that a lot of comedians are vulnerable people.
Well, not only they're vulnerable, but most stand-up comedians come from a very, very, very dark places in their lives. And that's their releases stand-up. So like I can tell you horror stories from my childhood growing up to what led me to where I'm at now as well. And most comics do have that going on with them.
Now, do you find like comics? Wow, there was a moment. Do you find that comics stay away from necessarily not having that as a motivation, but stay away from actually confronting those things, or do you feel that they actually?
No, not at all.
Okay.
The best ones confront them.
Yeah,
like, look at old Richard Pryor stuff where he talks about his mom being a prostitute and his grandma being her pimp, and him living in the house where dudes just constantly come in to fuck his mom and his aunts and stuff like that. You can look at Annie Lederman, who's one of the she's phenomenally hilarious, and she talks about being molested growing up. You know what I mean?
Holy shit.
There's truth in comedy, and if you are one of the good ones, you can take that, embrace it, and just get it out and just talk about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you really watch some of the greats, and you can see the pain that they're going through. I mean, think about it. Robin Williams is one of the greatest comics that ever lived. Was so amped up, always able to give everything to whoever was around him, and that was his thing. But because he was running from his demons, my wife quoted the Comedy Store as in calling it the sad clown party.
Damn, dude, that's actually pretty deep. Like thinking about that art piece too. Like just in general, the whole concept of sadness within comedy, or depth, and just bad negative horror stories. Like I watch a lot of like Chainsaw Massacre lately. It just makes me laugh in a sense, but I also watched that Chris Pratt show, Terminal List, and me and my brother-in-law.
Oh, that was a great show.
I enjoyed it, but here's my question to you: was it a comedy?
No, okay. That was not a comedy.
Okay, because there was a fuck
you can
ton
look
of
at it.
comedic.
There's a definite amount of comedic relief.
Okay,
throughout it.
Because that to me, I'm not saying it was a comedy, but like my brother-in-law was like, no, that was like everything was hella sad, and like I get it, like there's emotions.
Yeah, but you understand the culture though, and that was written by a Navy SEAL.
And I was like watching it, and I started cracking up at parts. My wife was like, "The fuck is wrong with you?" I'm like, "He just buried everybody with the fucking earth around him." I mean, like, come on, what? How is this not fucking hilarious right now. And then he has the kindness of his heart to go back. I mean, I'm not trying to spoil alert people, but you know, I don't know how that was actually, but to me, that one of the most funniest fucking parts. Like, I don't know. And again, I'm a bit twisted. And like, again, you know, I felt it was a little too on the nose with how things initiated. And again, yeah, it's a story. It's
it was written by a Navy SEAL. Yeah. Like the original terminal list was written by Navy SEAL. And they, I can't remember it, but
it's not Jack Carr, is it?
I don't remember, but do you know? Shit, I can't remember his name now either. He's a former CB. Joshua Bryan?
No, I don't.
Okay, he's a former CB who does stand-up comedy now, but he knows all about that stuff too, like that. Who wrote it? Who did all that stuff?
Nice. So, yeah, no, his name is Jack Carr, and you're right. He does have multiple books out, and I did see an interview of this guy, Jack Carr. It cracked me up because the way he uses his intellectual mind. I love it. He says pretty cut and clear. He's telling make believe stories, fictional stories, right? And he's utilizing the motivations and the lessons and wisdoms learned, and applying even not necessarily persons and stories and theatrics, but using those theatrics to kind of influence truth. And I was like really, really impressed with that, especially with the dynamic of even the name terminal list, right? And it was a great story. And I want to what was the CB you said? I want to look up this guy and fucking read some.
Joshua Bryan.
Joshua Bryan.
Yeah, he's a stand-up comic. He has his own podcast as well. But yeah, he's a former Navy CB. He did The Last Mandatory Fun.
Nice. Now, and a lot of people don't even know what the fuck a CB is.
Yeah, it's like there are three MOSs, or I don't know what they call it in the Navy, but there are three military occupational specialties that the Marine Corps has respect for with the Navy. One are corpsmen, two are Navy SEALs, obviously, and three are CBs. Like those are the top three that the Marine Corps has respect for, because those are the corpsmen are right there with us.
See, I love that you prioritized us so well.
Oh yeah, you have to. It has to be number one, because when I get shot, I'm not going to the Navy SEAL like, hey, I got shot, because he's gonna be like, well, fucking suck it up, because they're still shooting at us.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, he goes, well, I got shot too 15 minutes ago, bro. Yeah, like throw some fucking dirt on it, and
here's a straw, suck it the fuck up.
Oh my god!
At least you're gonna give me some Motrin and a straw.
I'll tell you to change your fucking socks, man. Give you some water and be like, "What's up?" Like,
there you go.
Hey, you come to me. You come to me. No, corpsman up. No, corpsman covered. Corpsman down. Yeah, corpsman chill.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yo, I just got shot up. Could you fix me so I can get the fuck back out there? And you're like, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
So that's why you guys are number one.
Absolutely. But no, that's awesome, because again, like, I worked with CBs. I worked with all those different people. Like it's in a very unique way. Being a corpsman allows you to be, honestly, I think the military allows you in general to go places that most people never will and experience things that most people never will.
It gave me so much perspective on life.
Yeah. Like just
I grew up on welfare. I was like poverty. And then I went to Kenya, Africa, and I was in the jungles of Kenya, Africa, and I watched National Geographic, baskets on their heads, walking to go get their fucking food and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm not poor. I'm America poor.
You broke. There's a difference.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not fucking, I'm not broke. I'm poor. Like there's
no, you're broke. You ain't poor. Like that poor fucking like same shit in Iraq, man. You see family, you see people walk around, you're like, God damn, I ain't got this bad. But like, you're right. It creates a world perspective, and it broadens people's dynamics of conceptual constructs, right? And I find that like societal normatives create a very harsh kill funnel. And for a Marine, you'll understand what I mean. It just keeps you in a fucked place, and you need to move beyond that fucked place because that's a kill zone. You don't want to be there, right? So I find that to be like what you're saying. You experience coming up as an adolescent and young person through poverty, the American concept, right?
Yeah,
poverty, America brand, right?
Oh my God, Zoltan, one of my favorite comics right now. He's not a veteran, but he is. He was born in Turkey, migrated to America when he was like 3 years old or something like that. But he's got a great joke where he goes, "I'm poor. Let me take that back. I'm America poor, which means I have 3 devices that allow me to look at my bank account and say that I have no money."
Dude, okay. Secondly, I have to ask you, do you remember Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah.
Do you remember the religious group, the one that does the Z?
Yeah. Oh,
is that the name? Is that his name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's his for real name though.
Okay.
I need to send you a picture because when we were in Africa and we would because we were doing we would cross train with other other countries and stuff like that. We're cross training with the Kenyan Commandos, but there was a picture in my float book with some of my buddies that were passing out because we would give out candy and whatever to the kids that were in the area, and they had them do the fucking whole Zoltan sign with their hands.
That is awesome.
A picture with 2 of my buddies and all these little Kenyan African tribes kids trying to throw up a Z, but they didn't know what they were doing, so their hands were just all fingers spread apart. And it's really cute. If you look at it from a cute standpoint of these kids just got M&Ms and Skittles, and they're just hanging out with a bunch of Marines that are just yeah, dude, where's my car?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's
but I can see how it would be exploitive to different people. No, but it's not. It's just everybody hanging out.
Honestly, I would say if anybody says anybody's taking advantage of or exploiting anything, why weren't you there? How about that?
Yeah, or also they were taking advantage of us because they knew we had shit for them. So
that's even a better story. Sometimes I'll be going to Mexico and little motherfucker be like, chicle, chicle, chicle. I buy a chicle, turn around, motherfucker got a bigger chain than me. I'm like, hey.
Here's a story about that. We went to Tijuana one time, and the Chicle kids stole one of the guys' watches that I was with, and then on the way back, tried to sell it back to him.
Oh my God! See, that's a sharp kid because he needs to know the time. You know you have a customer.
It was a G-Shock watch, and those were fucking popular as shit back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, that was the Casio of fucking watches during our generation. Fucking who didn't have a Casio in the 90s?
Who didn't? I didn't because I was fucking poor. Yeah, thanks, man.
You were staring at the window, looking at that motherfucker, going, I can't wait.
I was looking at somebody else's wrist, going, "What time is it? Can I use that calculator?"
Dude, I thought of the worst shit. I thought of the worst fucking line right now, and I'm going to say it.
Say it out loud so the class can hear.
You started walking up to say, Mr. can I hold your hand? Because you had a daddy. And you were more interested in the watch than having a dad. That's something you have to write out to say without farting and fucking almost pissing yourself.
Right?
Oh, no, but it's true. Oh, see, I had a dad and I stared at his fucking Casio all the time, so I can get it. I understand. Whew.
Oh, man. I have so many jokes about not having a dad.
See, I think that's great because, when you become a dad, regardless of what you come from or where you come from, you have the choice to make if you're going to be better than Danny Tanner. Everybody compares everybody to Danny Tanner. I'm not going to fucking lie. I even compared the dad that was there the whole time to Danny Tanner. Why didn't you give me a hug every time you yelled at me, Pop? Shit. But, no, you're a fucking moron. Go to bed. And you don't even understand Spanish. So he'd yell at me in Spanish, be like, did you understand? No. See, stupid? I'm like, fuck, all right. So no, but like, oh God, dude. So talking about comedy, more and more comedy, right? Coming up shows. You just came back from a show, and I'm gonna fuck up the name of the brew. It was a brew place that you just did the other day.
Shit. It was a few days ago. It was
yeah.
Shit. Yeah, it was Rift Cities. It was at Amplified Ale House.
Amplified Warehouse. Amplified Ale House.
Amplified Ale House. There's a comedy group called Rift City, and they produce comedy shows all over San Diego. And they do a jazz comedy show at the La Jolla Comedy Store every other month on the second Wednesday, I think it is, a month, maybe the first Wednesday. I can't remember. But he also runs shows. Yeah, that's on a Wednesday. But he also runs shows at different places. He asked me to do it. I did it. I had a blast. That was also the location where we filmed the original Mandatory Fun that was on Vet TV for a while. So it had some, rich for me with that. I just got back from doing a weekend in El Paso at Comic Strip Live, which I don't know where all your listeners are at, but
all over the world, believe it or not.
The Comic Strip in El Paso, one of the best clubs, and I run a club, and I've been all over the country with clubs. The Comic Strip in El Paso is one of the best comedy clubs in America, hands down. There's a small handful that I will call the best, and the Comic Strip in El Paso is one of them.
I mean, you said their fucking name enough.
All right.
I'm like, is he plugging? Like, I could just, hey, you could just plug, so bro. You could just tell me, you could just be like, hey, I'm motherfucking the Comic Strip in El Paso, blood. Like, you better rep. I'm like, okay, got it, Mike. Like, shit, we're good. Comic Strip in El Paso.
That's how passionate I am about that club.
That's
it's
awesome.
So great.
That's awesome because you hear horror stories like, okay,
my God, I've been to some of them.
You talk to comedians, and then you also talk to like live performers in general, like like the small town bands, right? Those ones that perform anywhere, that will do any gig, and they tell you like, no, like there's some fucking.
You mean where I'm at in my comedy career right now, or it's like you paying me to go there? I'm fucking there. I'm fucking.
Even if it's a horror show.
I mean, I've been to a couple of them. There's a few that I won't do.
But if they paid you enough, like that's the thing. Is
if they paid me enough, I would do it just because it's a paycheck. But there are some that I'm like, ugh.
I got a urologist appointment that day. Colonoscopy. Anything other than potentially getting hepatitis.
Camera up my asshole.
like you hear some places like. I'm not saying it's worse than doing the Oscars or Emmys wherever fucking Will Smith smacked fucking Chris Rock, but you wouldn't think that type of place would be that bad, but I guess it was. No, but the Comic Strip in El Paso, how was that? And what was it like, preparing for that? Because I asked Brian the same question. How do you prepare? He goes, motherfucker, I don't. I'm like, damn, that's a G. But for you,
here's the thing. I was featuring for my buddy Monty Franklin. And if you listen to Joe Rogan podcast, you've heard him on there a couple times. So he asked me to go out there with him. I was like, yeah, bet. Of course, I'm going to go out there with you. It sounds like a great time. But the city has nothing really going on. And it was in the middle of the summer. So it was fucking 110 degrees every day. And that first night I was there, I was featuring. So I'm doing like 30 minutes a show. The first, or supposedly 20. I'm supposed to do 20 minutes a show. So the host's supposed to do 10. I'm supposed to do 20. The headliner's supposed to do an hour. And that first night, the headliner flying out of San Diego just like me, but I left early in the morning because I always leave first thing in the morning because I just want to get to where I'm supposed to go just so I'm there.
Right.
He doesn't. He's supposed to leave in the afternoon. His flight gets delayed about 3-4 hours. He's not in El Paso when it's time to start the show.
That's no bueno.
That is no bueno. But he's flying Southwest, and you can still text iPhone to iPhone on Southwest, most Southwest flights. Shout out to Southwest. Pay me some money.
Get that money.
Get that money. So
the owner of the comedy club knows what's going on. I know what's going on. I'm like, so what do you want to do? He's like, well, you're now doing 30 minutes. We'll start the show 15 minutes late. I'm like, cool, no problem. I'm about to get on stage. He pats me on the back. He goes, "Don't like you when he gets here." And for those who don't know what comedy is, when they go, "We'll light you," it's when it's time for you to get off stage.
Got it. Because I didn't catch that. I was like, you said something, and I knew it was important, but no, right over my head.
Yeah. So normally when you're doing a set, and if like if they're doing like an 8-10 minute set, and you go to a place and they go, yeah, it's a 1 minute like showcase shows. But for weekend shows, when you're doing an extended time, like 30, 40, 50 minutes or whatever, normally they go, when do you want your light? And you go, give me a 5-minute light. So light me. There's a light that goes on in the back of every comedy club that tells the headliner, you or the feature or the comic on stage, you have X amount of time left, and you choose that time. So normally it's between 2 and 5 minutes. So normally if I'm doing like a 30-minute set, I'm like, give me a 5-minute light. Let me know when I have 5 minutes left so I can finish the joke, maybe throw one more joke on top of it, and then get the closing joke. Or finish this joke and then go right into the closing joke. You know what I mean? So you can time out your set.
Kind of like a tempo.
Exactly.
Yeah, like
exactly.
when to wrap the shit up, right?
You've been on stage for 25 minutes. You have 5 minutes to go. So I'm supposed to do 20. It gets tossed to 30, which is not a big deal. Yeah, that's fine. You know, we'll just toss this one in there, that one in there, that one in there, these jokes, and then that's the new set. Cool, no problem. But then when they go and they slap you on the back right before you go on stage going, he's not here yet. We'll light you when he gets here. Like, i.e., we'll let you know when he's in the building. And you go, shit, I don't know how much time I'm going to do on stage now. So you cannot prepare for anything. So your entire preparation goes right out the fucking window. Your entire set list is gone. So you're just like, all right, let me start off with my set. Let me hit the first big punchline, and then I'm just going to kind of go from there. I'm going to toss everything in there and mix things around and pulling my, for my 40-minute set, I'm pulling from my 45-minute set. So you really can't really plan on doing anything because you don't know when it's going to last, how long it's going to last.
That's got to be a fucking nerve wrecker.
It is. I've done it a couple times before, just, because of the nature of the beast, things happen. And when you're in it long enough, it's going to happen to you. So basically, I ended up doing 55 minutes on stage. As I'm doing a joke, and I'm like, shit, what the fuck am I going to do now? Because I had no time to prepare. It's like, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? All of a sudden, the light goes on. I'm like, perfect. I wrap it up with a callback for another joke that I did before and had a big laugh at the end, got the fuck off stage, and everybody had a good time. And then the headliner went up and did 30 minutes. So
that's gnarly.
Yeah, it was fucking gnarly. But the people that come to the comic strip in El Paso were great. The audiences were great. The entire fucking weekend was great. The owner was great. Like it was just one of those clubs where they just knew what they were doing. You know what I mean? Like they were in it for all the right reasons.
That's awesome. That's something that it sounds like it's very hard to find. Like a good vibe, a good location. Everything's just at the right place at the right time. That sounds really dope, man. I want to go out to El Paso just for that now.
Even a better note. So a buddy of mine that is on the East Coast that used to come out here all the time in California, Joel Richardson, he opened up his own comedy club in Philly, in the suburbs of Philly. It's Sunnyvale or something like that. I can't remember the exact name, but I'm doing that on Veterans Day weekend with my buddy Mike Eshak, who's also a former Marine, who has a great bit about being a Muslim that tries bacon for his first time in Marine Corps boot camp. Probably one of my, yeah, it's like one of my favorite bits out there.
That sounds really fucking funny. Actually,
So we're flying in on 10 November, which is the Marine Corps birthday. So I'm going to go to Tun Tavern, the site of Tun Tavern, which is no longer a bar. It's just a sign that says, hey, Tun Tavern was here, which is where the Marine Corps was started. So I'm going to go there, take a picture there, and then go to the bar that all the Marines go to on that day, have a couple drinks, and then go do a show that night. And then all that weekend, I'm at Soul Joe's Comedy Club in Philly. So if anybody out there is in Philly, any of the listeners in Philly, I'm going to be out there with my buddy Mike Eshak doing the shows that Friday and Saturday. And I think Thursday night we have a benefit show for veterans as well. So
fuck yeah, man. Yeah, I'll plug the shit out of that and make sure everybody goes there that wants to do everything. Because that's the biggest point. You know, that's what I talk a lot about is one presenting the opportunity for people to support you. Two, allowing enough time for people to dedicate that time to support you, right? And so this is on Veterans Day. You said at Soul Joe's Comedy Club, or did I fuck that up?
Yeah, Veterans Day weekend, Soul Joe's Comedy Club.
Nice. And you're also doing the veteran benefit there just before.
That Thursday night.
Yeah, nice.
The night before.
Nice. And then so for a lot of listeners, in case you don't know, some people celebrate certain things and some people celebrate certain things a certain way. And I know we breezed past one of the most important days on the earth in all of humanity to ever be
Marine Corps birthday.
The Marine Corps birthday, yes. November 10th. Okay, it's one of the biggest deals.
1775 at Tun Tavern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
It's one of the biggest deals you could have as a military service is to be founded, right? But to be founded at a fucking bar.
I mean, that just kind of explains the entire mentality of the Marine Corps because we just get hammered and fight everybody.
And that's the Marine Corps birthday. Like
Captain Samuel Nichols walked into a bar in Philadelphia and was like, yo, anybody want to fuck up the English? And they were like, yeah. And that's the Marine Corps. So,
it's better than a fucking tea party, if you ask me. It's
almost better than a tea party. What kind of pussy ass shit is that? Fucking pinkies up, bitches.
Oh my God. I wonder how the Air Force
more whiskey punch somebody in the throat.
All right. Okay, so you say that, but me and my Marines, we celebrated a nice Marine Corps birthday party, right? And everybody that was Army or otherwise didn't understand why everybody was celebrating and calling each other brother and saying happy birthday to each other, nearly fucking tongue fucking each other, right? Like, we're drunk. Okay, it's not the you don't call Uber. It's more or less you wherever you're at. You're at a hotel. Okay, this is where you're staying. Okay, this is how we circumvent shit
there's
nowadays.
No leaving. There's no leaving.
There's no leaving. There's no end. That's why Vegas is a great venue for all the casinos with hotels. But my point is, it's different. It's different than Veterans Day. Veterans Day it gets somber. People they get it confused between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. We don't know if we're supposed to be sad or we're supposed to be happy.
No, you get a free haircut.
Yeah, you get free shit.
Miami at Denny's. And that's about it.
You get the moon over Miami at Denny's.
That's Veterans Day. It's like, thanks, Supercuts. Appreciate it.
But the night before, getting the Edgar cut, no. But the night before is where all the real shit happens. And I think that's the reason. I think it has to be like it's strategic. Like Marines are going to be drunk from the day before Marine Corps birthday to about 4 days after the Marine Corps birthday. And Veterans Day falls right in there.
We used to nickname our the Marine Corps ball the Marine Corps brawl. BRAWL because of all the debauchery that went down. And we always did it on State Line, Nevada at the Prima Donna and Buffalo Bills. And that was our little stomping ground every year for the birthday. We would just go over there, get hammered, and just beat the fuck out of each other.
That's so true. It always ends up in a fight. But
we love each other afterwards.
That's the thing. It's not a fight of hate. It's a fight of camaraderie.
Exactly. And that's what people don't understand.
I agree. I don't understand.
I'll beat your ass because I love you.
Yeah, I'll beat you fuck up until we both bleeding. Like, what? I don't know. Some people do get turned on to that shit. And I'm not going to lie. Like, I've met a couple of folk that, yeah. But my point is that it's just a chaotic time. It's a blissful experience. If you see a Marine in the wilderness, don't approach it. Give it a beer. Give it about 5 minutes, okay? And it's one of those beautiful times. It's just my favorite time of the year.
Here's some Budweiser. Thank you for your service. And you just slowly back away, not turning away from them.
Don't break eye contact. Don't make eye contact. Yeah. What does that mean? Well, if you make eye contact, don't break it.
Yeah. But don't ever stop looking at them, because once you turn your back, it's over.
And just like fucking Chris Pratt in the Jurassic Park shit, the one you see doesn't mean that's it. Okay, there's a couple flaking you.
Oh no.
No, Blue.
They don't even have to know you. They just see it and they're like, "Oh, that's a brother in trouble."
Yeah.
And they just circle around and it's like, "Who are you guys?" Even the Marines like, "Who the fuck are you?" And they're like, "I was with 2-1. I was with 3-4."
Because they're confrontational to each other until you start shouting numbers like a gang member, bro.
Right? like gang members shout fucking street numbers.
3-1. What the fuck, dude? This is you're in dress uniform, Kyle. Calm down.
26th Street, SA.
Dude. And then you have the corpsman, and
like, God. Look, it's supposed to be our night off. Please don't stab each other.
Nah.
We don't have any stitches in our backpack.
No, we do. We just don't want to tell you. Okay, we have. I used to carry my bag. All right, I use it now for a fucking audio go bag where I got my recording gear in it now. It's the same bag I had for a ton of years now, and I used to carry at least 5 to 6 bags of normal saline and IV kit for each one, 1,000 milliliters, whatever, right? And it would either definitely be that weekend or definitely a 96 for sure. That those.
Oh
things,
yeah, 96 is you're definitely using the IVs.
They're gone, dude. And I mean, people judge you. They judge us now, but now what is the chic boutique Hollywood bullshit? Everybody's like, "Oh, I get IV services and therapy coming to my house every other Thursday." Bitch, you need to chill the fuck out with the cocaine and alcohol. You don't need to.
They got IV services in Vegas.
Yeah,
they got a fucking little bus that you just go show
serious?
up with.
Yeah. So let me get this.
In Vegas, they got the IV bus.
You get to a bus.
They've got a whole fucking bar to bar. You just go there and there's like little trailers where you just go in there. You just get an IV and fucking just like, all right, now I'm ready to fucking do some more blowing fucking whiskey.
Oh my God.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But here's you touch on something that I've always wanted to say about everybody who's not in the military. Shut the fuck up about what goes on in the military, because you're not there. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what the mindset is that everybody needs to be in. It's not normal society by any means. It's its own fucking entity, and these people need to be either in it 100% or out of it 100%, just so we can survive. It's not about, inclusion or anything like that. It's about survival. It's about being in the right mental space for you and everybody around you to come home safely.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the nail on the head, right? And I think that's a perfect segue, right? Like, look at how Marines party, okay? Look at how Army parties. I party with some Army cats. They're not as good to go as they think, but they're good to go, okay? Because again, when you're the baby brother of the military service known as the Navy, and that's the Marine Corps, you learn things from your older brothers, and they tend to be a little bit better at it. Okay, that's my whole point to that. Baby brother, older brother. Like, I'm not trying to initiate any kind of internal warfare. But what I'm saying is...
It's not baby brother, older brother. It's the people who drive the ships and the people who protect the ships. That's how it happened. It was like, you guys drive the ships. We need somebody who's going to protect everybody on the ships. And that's how the Marine Corps was brought up.
Well, I mean, I was segueing into like a cooler, like bringing in some art form like Jack Reacher and Joe Reacher, and like how they were... the smart, bigger brother, a little bit older than the big, smarter, bigger, brawnier brother. Because I think people paint the Marine Corps like one way, and it's just not true. Like they're tough, and they party, and they're the toughest motherfuckers on the planet Earth. And at the same token, like you're saying, they have to be, because it's survival, right? They're not. It's not a game. It's not Call of Duty. There's no save point. There's no checkpoint. There's none of that. There's not, and a lot of times there's no help. There's no secondary supply. There's no it's just you and a handful of motherfuckers just trying to get home. And when it comes down to that, you're right. There is no wiggle room for the type of things that, upper management wants to be, the inclusion, the whatever, mandatory hearing or mandatory safety stand down that's going to be for this fucking month or week. None of that's relevant. And that was something that a lot of people discussed about the earlier phases of the war, was that it stopped being about getting a job done and started being about, how do I get my second star, or, my upping rank, or, this designation, or that award, or this title, or how do I write down that I got this many troops, their FMF pin. Like, that was one of the worst things about the FMF pin in country.
Well, like, didn't Chesty Puller leave the Marine Corps as a full-bird colonel?
Yeah,
he never made general, right? He made colonel, and that was it, right?
Yeah,
he started enlisted, got a couple NJPs, been in a bunch of wars, worked his way up, became an officer, and then left as a colonel because he would not deal with the politics. So, and that's the most highly decorated Marine. When you're doing pull-ups and you can't do any more, you do one more for Chesty.
You better.
You fucking better.
Or you're a bitch. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're a bitch.
Yeah, Chesty better get his.
No, that's a great topic. Now, to move back to comedy, when you're bringing in new work, right? When you're working a crowd to bring in new work, you're developing something. Have you started writing, or is this still something that you're Jay-Zing every day? Just right off the top.
A little bit of both. I have trouble writing jokes because I grew up. Comedy came to me as a survival tactic because I was always little. I was always very little. Like, now I'm 6'1", 225. You know what I mean? Like, I know how to fucking break somebody's face. I lift weights. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a bitch anymore. But growing up, I was always the smallest one. I didn't hit my growth spurt till I was in like junior year of high school. So like when I was graduating 8th grade, I was like 5'2". There was like 10 girls, me and my buddy, another 10 girls, and then it was like a mixture of guys and girls in the back. So like I was always little. Blue-eyed, fucking cute-ass little white kid, in south side of Chicago, and that doesn't really fly all that much.
Nah. Like I would no. You're painting the picture, and I'm like, I would avoid you just so I didn't catch the flack. One of the schools
right? Like one of the schools I used to go to when I was like 2nd, 3rd grade, 4th grade, I used to get my ass whooped every fucking day for like 3 years. And you know what I mean? Like it's just so there was that. But then I got older, I got bigger. I always played sports. I always played basketball, football, I wrestled. And I always wanted to be in the military, and I just grew up and got bigger and got stronger and learned how to break faces. So that's how that happened. I don't remember the initial question, but I just remember.
No, it's just more or less like, how did you develop? I was asking, how do you prepare new material? And you come off the top of your head, and then what you brought into is how you develop that mechanism of defense.
So I see exactly. Yeah. So that's how I brought up comedy. So that's how comedy came into my life. One, I used to listen to it growing up as a kid, and then it became a defense mechanism because if I was making you laugh, you didn't want to beat the fuck out of the person that's making you laugh because that person's making you feel good. So I'll be the person that makes you feel good. You know what I mean? Like I'll make you laugh. I'll make you feel good. I'm kicking back. We're cracking jokes. You know what I mean? Like, don't hurt me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about fucking Isaac over there.
Yeah. That's so smart.
And then with all the tragedy that happened in my life with my family and stuff like that, I used that with them to try and ease the tension and the negativity that was going on around our lives, where I was, cracking jokes and making them feel better about themselves, or just making them feel like forget about what was going on in our lives.
just for the fact that I was making them laugh. Like we were living at a motel, and I put on my little sister's like little onesie and biker shorts, and I ran around the hallways of the motel that we're living out of that summer as like Richard Simmons to make them laugh, to forget about the fact that we were living in a fucking motel and we didn't have a place to live.
Wow. That's really strong, to see something and use comedy as the tension breaker, as the levity in such a serious circumstance, right? And to be young and then still have the motivation, or I should say the determination, to develop the self into becoming a Marine, and then transitioning from the Marines to becoming a well-vetted and veteran stand-up comedian, not just a veteran in the military, right? The term veteran goes around and loops around, comes back around, right? And
like, for me personally, it all came from wanting to protect my family and wanting to make them laugh and happy and forget about the problems that they were going through. So my whole upbringing with, I had family that was in the military, and I had a sense of duty with all of that, and believing in a higher purpose, and going into, support that and protect that higher purpose and protect that way of life. And like the best way to protect your family is to protect the opportunities that they could have.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And, I do. Like that's so smart to think that way too. Because now, when you're developing new material, though, and you're utilizing all of this experience and wisdom, right? So you use this defense mechanism to carve out a path for yourself, right? Do you find that it's is it a beneficial type of tool with not just that negative perspective at time? Or is it something that you use the darkness, right? The dark side.
Oh, it's 100% beneficial, because I know nothing but survival with that.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So coming from that, being a little skinny ass, tiny little fucking white kid that everybody hates, to now you're laughing at the things I say, and now you don't want to fucking punch me anymore. You know what I mean? Like that survival tactic mixed in with, my family going through horrific times, and me being the comic relief to relieve that from them. Like, it's just like, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing I can do on stage. Like, even when I fail, that can shake me. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, at least I'm not struggling to get a fucking meal. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Oh my God, that joke didn't fucking hit. So who gives a shit? Okay, it doesn't work. Now I know it doesn't work. At least I'm not getting shot at in the Middle East. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
yeah. Like how scary could it possibly be, right?
Exactly. How scary can it be for me, with all my experience and all the things I've been trying to do in my life, with all the ability that I know that I have to do it?
That's really great, man. No, that's remarkable that you take such a adversity, right? And then you carve out these tools, and you create the opportunities for your life now and in the future. But it's 100%. It's 100% for the audience. It's not even for me. It's for the audience. Like, that's like, you know what I mean? Like, I could give, like, if I didn't care about other people, I could just work some fucking random ass job, making a ton of money, and just be, living my life that way. But that's not me. You know what I mean? Like, I care that you're happy. I care that you're having a good time. You know what I mean? Like, one of my biggest things, I run a Toys for Tots show every year. I've been doing it for 12 fucking years, because I believe that if you have the ability to do something for society, it's your duty to fucking do it. So like, that sense of duty that I've had since being in the Marines and stuff like that, it's never left. And that's translated into comedy as well. So like, I'm here, I'm on stage for you. Yeah. See, that's really I never actually looked at comedy that way, like from a perspective of both, right? What is it for the audience, and what is it to the performer?
They're givers and takers in comedy. And this is another thing. My wife used to work in morning radio, and so she like sees all these different parallels between comedy and radio. But one of her biggest observations was there are givers and takers in comedy. There's comedians that get on stage and they give everything to the audience just to make sure that they laugh and they have a good time. And then there's comics that get on stage and they take from the audience. Like they need the audience to laugh at them for them to feel good about themselves.
Wow. That is a trip to think of it that way.
Yeah. And you'll see those too. Like they're like, and it doesn't mean that they're not funnier than the other, but you'll see the ones that when they're having a bad set, they're like, you guys are horrible. And then like you see ones that are givers that are having a bad set and they just keep pushing harder and harder and harder just to try and get that laugh, trying to get to that next level.
That's a trip. Like that's some like so higher crazy level comedic bullshit right there. Like
it's so crazy. It's so fucking crazy. It's so much further than open mic or headliners, and the mentality behind everything in life is ridiculous. And if people could, like, to close it off on everything, if people could just start thinking about the mentality behind everything that goes on, the world would be such a better place. That
is so dope. Like the philosophy behind shit, right? Like,
yeah. Why is this happening? Why is this person doing this? Why is it going this way? Why is everything acting that way? Why?
The way you said why like that right now, I don't know if you remember that old school song. Oh, why she ran away? And I wonder if she will stay.
I love that song. My little runaway.
Yeah. Run away. Nah, that's a dope ass. That's dope to leave that on, dude. And I want to give you a few minutes to also plug not only the mandatory fun nights, but the Comedy Store and everything that you do. And I want you to come back on when we get closer to the November 10th, that Devil Dog's birthday, and your shows that are going to be coming up for Philly, or any show that you have so that we can promote it and put it out there. And anytime, any place you need us to support you, man, we're here.
All right. Well, the second Wednesday of October is the next mandatory fun at the La Jolla Comedy Store. I believe it's October 12th. So October 12th, Wednesday. Use the promo code military. We'll get you free tickets. So none of the comics are doing it to make money. They're just doing it to be on stage. And I handpicked the comics, so they're actually really good comics. They're not just open mic comedians. So do that. You can go to Mandatory Fun. I just started their Facebook page, Instagram page to start pushing the shows, or go to Mike Finn Comic on any platform, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And that's where you can find me, and I will always push those shows there. So that's the best way to find out what's going on with Mandatory Fun and to promote that, as well as my own personal shows. And then, Soul Joe's Comedy Club in November. Anybody in Chicago, I'll be out there in the second weekend of Chicago. I will be posting those dates and clubs in the next 2 weeks. So again, follow me, Mike Finn Comic. And I'll see you guys out there. Make sure you come by and say hi. See you heard me on the Devil Dog podcast.
Hell yeah, man. That would be great. Well, they'll let you know that they heard you on the Devil Dog Talk Show. They
fucking better. They fucking better. Yeah. They fucking better.
Like, yeah. Like, I don't even ask for much. I'm not even asking for people to laugh. I'm just over here going, hey, listen, like, and share, motherfuckers. And they're like, oh, you're going to say the fuck word. I'm like, yeah, the fuck word comes out of my mouth fucking a lot. P.S.
That's right, motherfucker.
Yeah. I actually say it so much, my wife, right? She gets so pissed off because my kids will be like doing something. I'll be like, man, motherfucker, what you doing? And I'll just say it without realizing I just said motherfucker. And then I hit pause and I go, yeah, my bad. I did that, huh?
Yep. Same thing with me and my stepkids. My wife's like, dude. Yo, you can't cuss like that. I'm like, fuck them. I'm like, fuck. Goddamn it, fuck. Sorry.
They'll grow the fuck up.
Sorry. It's part of my language.
Internet. Hello. Assistant Lawyer number 4 and then he's and then represent our number 6 is the shit.
Well, I need to sit.